These pages present an overview of research and development in progress at Andorville Labs. Andorville Labs develops software for data modeling, processing, and analysis. The current generation of software uses a cellular architecture, allowing large applications to be assembled quickly from a collection of single-purpose software cells and smaller applications. Each software cell contains data models and methods to implement a specialized function. All cells can exchange data and instructions with other cells within an application. Many cells are linked together to build complex data models with associated data processing and analysis functions. Software under development using this multicellular architecture include the Q7 application to test and demonstrate a frequency domain model of quantum mechanics, and the DI7 dynamic intelligence system that uses time simulations to determine the optimum behavior of complex systems. Andorville Labs has designed a software development system that uses interconnected software cells to construct high-level applications and data models. The multicellular architecture limits the complexity of the software system, allowing applications to be easily extended and linked to other systems. Software cells have been developed with the following functions: communication network, used to exchange information between cells and other applications; project network, used to build complex data models within an application; import, for importing data from text files or the internet into a database; database tools, to create, save, and edit a database design and create new databases and tables; application template, a template used to develop a new Andorville software cell; document library, for creating, storing, and editing documents in a range of formats including text, RTF, XML, and HTML; Bayes, used to demonstrate and apply Bayes' theorem; distributions, to design and analyze continuous and discrete probability distributions; Monte Carlo, for designing, running, and analyzing Monte Carlo simulations; coordinates, to convert coordinates between different geographic and projected coordinate systems; and regression, fits lines and curves to a set of data points. Other software cells under development include interpolate, used for data interpolation; calculate, a versatile calculator that uses a tree structure to design, store, and run calculation processes; Fourier, performs fast Fourier transforms in 1, 2, or 3 dimensions; 2D chart, to display two-dimensional surface data; and map, for viewing spatial data on a map. The Andorville Q7 application is a software system under development to test and demonstrate a frequency domain interpretation of quantum mechanics. This interpretation assumes that quantum mechanics operates in 3 frequency dimensions and no time dimension, abbreviated as 3df0dt. A Fourier transform converts a signal in the time or distance domain into a signal in the frequency or wave number domain. Signals can be converted between the two domains without any loss of information. This conversion can be performed on signals of any dimension. Particles of amplitude or energy in 3-dimensional space can be transformed to and from 3-dimensional frequency. In the frequency domain interpretation, quantum mechanics processes evolve in the 3D frequency domain, abbreviated as 3df. Only when an observation is made, such as a photon interacting with an electron, is a point localized in the equivalent space domain. The interaction acts as an inverse Fourier transform operation to generate the localized point. The energy of photons and electrons evolve unobserved in frequency. Only when they interact do they appear as points in apparent space. The space and frequency domains have complementary properties. A function in space has a complementary shape and frequency. A single point in space transforms into a uniform amplitude of all frequencies. A single point in space influences all frequency amplitudes and vice versa. A set of points in space transforms into a set of discrete frequencies distributed throughout the frequency domain. The paradox of point particles, such as electrons and photons having zero volume, yet possessing properties such as mass and spin, or momentum and polarity, can be explained by the frequency domain interpretation. The particle's properties are defined in frequency, while the particle's apparent zero size is defined by an interaction that localizes its position to a single point in apparent space. Processes in space have complementary processes in frequency. The computationally intensive convolution, or filter, process in space becomes a simple multiplication operation in frequency. The laws of physics expressed in the frequency domain will be completely different from those defined in the space domain. The evolution of the energy of particles in the frequency domain occurs in place. There is no fourth time dimension that records the past history and future state of the energy. The absence of a time dimension has the 0dt abbreviation. The operation of quantum mechanics in the frequency domain explains why the laws of physics are universal in apparent space. The absence of a time dimension explains the conservation laws. The collapse of the wave function is an inverse Fourier transform process that generates a point in apparent space when an observation is made. The Andorville DI7 application is a software system under development to implement dynamic intelligence, which is the use of time simulations to optimize the movement and behavior of a controlled hardware system. The 3DF0dt interpretation of quantum mechanics assumes that there is no time dimension. Animals, however, perceive a time dimension in addition to 3 space dimensions. The brain simulates a time dimension to forecast the state of the environment. This forecast is used to optimize the animal's movements and general behavior. The DI7 dynamic intelligence system aims to implement the time simulation-based intelligence that has proved so successful in the animal kingdom. System components and features include a model of the environment, a model of the controlled system to be optimized, multiple simulation timescales for time responses ranging from sub-second up to minutes, hours, and days, or more. Prediction comparison cycles can be used to test the simulation quality and update the simulation model. Simulations of the future state of the environment. Simulations of the effect of a system action. Simulations of the effect of alternative system actions, and methods for comparing the simulation outputs to determine the optimum system control. An animal can be considered a colony of cells that can move to obtain materials and conditions to survive and thrive. Movement is planned in the animal's brain using a model of the environment and a forecast of the effect of possible movements in satisfying the animal's needs. The brain creates a time simulation to make these forecasts. A human is a colony of some 37 trillion cells. About 30 trillion of these are the small red blood cells that carry oxygen to all parts of the body. The brain, containing about 90 billion neurons, contains models of the body and the environment. The brain processes massive volumes of input sensory data to control the 600+ muscles that move the body. A person deep in thought is running time simulations in an effort to determine optimum future behavior. Consciousness is the brain's mechanism for simulating and reviewing the possibilities and attempting to select the best behavior on behalf of the colony of cells. Time simulations are used at a much simplified level when an accountant runs alternative economic models, or a petroleum engineer runs a set of oil field reservoir simulations. An accountant will select the best investment based on the economic modeling results. The engineer will select the best oil well placement based on the simulated performance of alternatives. While the accountant or engineer could spend days or weeks setting up the model and running the simulation, the human brain continuously refines its environment and body models and constantly runs simulations at multiple timescales. The DI7 application will implement all the steps required for dynamic intelligence in a single system to provide a rapid response as the environment model is updated. The DI7 application can provide dynamic intelligence at multiple scales for use in small software applications, small hardware devices, large autonomous systems, and assisted decision-making in organizations such as companies and government. Animal evolution has produced brains with extremely complex structure to achieve the level of dynamic intelligence required to control coordinated movement and behavior. Dynamic intelligence systems designed using scalable and adaptable software architecture will be required for the efficient control of artificial autonomous systems. Only companies and economies with fast, accurate, and competitive simulation models will dominate and thrive in the future.